Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to draw the lowercase c and e. These characters are fairly easy because we've already got the O, the lowercase o, and so really what we need to do is just make it fit the system, which shouldn't be too difficult. We might even adjust the A to fit that. Now the A is important actually in drawing the E because if you remember in the A video, or if you've gotten to the A video yet, you'll have noticed that I mentioned that this counter size should be similar to that of the bowl of the E. And so we're going to want to make that happen in our typeface. We want that relationship. Okay, so we're going to put the C and the E in here. The first thing I'm actually going to do is draw the C. Now the lowercase c is not just taking the O and then slapping serifs on, and cutting it and then slapping serifs onto either side. It does change from from the O. Now the top tends to be quite similar, but the bottom is going to change. And actually, a really good starting point is the bottom of either the U or the T. Notice how this is a similar kind of shape, and let's use the T because we already got this shape. We can start from it. And I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to chop everything off except there. I'm going to cut them all. Okay. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this the same height right now. All right, and blend them together. But what I need to do is I need to make it a bit wider. Okay. See, drawing type is not so bad, not so hard when you use the parts. All right, that's a pretty quick bottom. And one thing that I want to do is I want the O and the C, they should be relative in width. We're going to first, though, test this. I would say that at the moment, this feels like it's going to be about the right width right now. The C should appear optically, and the E too, to be about the same width as the O. You don't want it to be wider, though, or too small. It should appear to be about the same width. But there's a tendency I find, even for myself, when you're getting to just start a design, there's a tendency to make them be a little bit too wide, usually. But I'm also doing something, so this spur on the bottom, I want the movement to match the kind of movement of these spurs, the movement of this A spur. So now we spend the time to make this look nice because it's going to translate over to the E more or less directly. Might need to change a little bit, but it will translate. And okay. Okay. Nice. Okay, now for the top, once again, we don't have any model yet established, but I would say that our S right now gives us a pretty good idea of what the top of the C should look like. I'm going to use it just for now because it'll keep things consistent. You can't go wrong with doing it this way, but you could have tons of ideas. Like you could have we could introduce a ball type terminal into this, or a kind of teardrop terminal, something slightly rounded or less rounded. But for now, I think this shape works just fine. And what I'm going to do is move it back. Now the C should be, here's a proportion rule for the C. Let's grab some of these. Oh, we got rid of the guidelines. That's fine. The C, this bottom area here, the terminal should never really come beyond that bottom terminal, or at least if it does, not that far, because it starts to get pretty lopsided. Really what's better is to have a situation like this, and actually I want this to be a bit heavier. This needs to have a bit more weight to it. And I think that works better. Better than the S anyways, at the moment. But anyways, it's not have to be perfect. Now you notice this curve changed a little bit here from the O, and that's fine because the C is a slightly different shape. It has to accommodate a termination, two terminations, one on the bottom, one on the top. It's different than the O, but it's a great starting point, the O, that is. And I still feel like this is a little too open. Yeah, maybe. Yes, this is going to be better. Moving this up. Yep, that's it. I moved this point up a little bit more. It gave us a little bit more movement of weight entering in this area and less up here. And I think that worked. Yes, it's much better. Okay, so what was actually... Now here's the thing. The C can take the spacing of the O, which is 38. And on this side, I don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm just going to rough it in. That's still too much space. Usually that's too much. It should be a little bit less than O. That's not bad for now. Okay, that's our C. We also need to draw the E, and to draw E, we want to have it compared to the O. And we're going to use C as the starting point. All right, now what we're going to do, though, is we're going to actually get rid of this area. We don't need that right now. But what we do need is we're going to need a crossbar, which we can get from the T. We need to know how thick generally that crossbar is going to be. But so for the E, what I could do is I could just do this. And something that I like to do is bring in the O and use this quarter, whoops, of O as a starting point. Okay. The reason why I'm borrowing a lot of these parts is not just because it's a fast and efficient way to work. It's definitely that. However, if you think about the way that writing works, calligraphic writing in particular, you notice that with calligraphic writing, shapes are shared by virtue of the shape of the tool. So when I'm writing with a broad edge pen and I move the pen in these directions held at particular angles, like right now, this angle is actually fairly flat on this shape. Anyways, that doesn't matter in particular. The angle is not the thing. It's just that it will produce a certain modulation behavior across the typeface system. So when I'm borrowing parts, I'm also keeping things consistent. It's very helpful. All right. So all I need is this from this character. And this is too heavy right now for the E. And there we go. And I'm going to blend. What I want to do is this. I want to blend these together, but I don't want to lose this right now because I want to be able to move it up and down. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this a little notch. Same optical trick that I had talked about in the A video, I believe, or another video. Okay, right now it's too wide. And the E has to get a little bit of a modification too. It needs to be a bit larger in counter. So once again, now what we're doing is we're trying to match this. Now the A, I think that bowl isn't working so well. Let's see here. What can we do? That's better. Okay. Now, the A bowl and the E bowl, they should be similar in weight. They're pretty close. But the E might have to actually, yeah, might have to drop a bit. And the weight of this crossbar of E, I don't know if I've mentioned this trick in other videos, but if you click a point and hold Control and click Open Corner, right click, that is, Control click Open Corner, you split these parts back open and you can edit them without influencing this stroke, for instance. So because what I want to do is make the crossbar a bit heavier to be similar to this weight. That's better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually throw this back a little bit more. And all right, there we go. We're starting to get the right general shape. And actually this needs to come back a bit more to work, I think. These 2 points should be kind of like that situation in S. They become a little bit more perpendicular to one another. And this does not have to be as heavy. Okay. Okay, that's a pretty good setup for the E. I want these counters to be more or less the same size. Right now it feels actually like the E counter is a little big, and that's where I'm going to move it up. Say, does that actually work a bit better? And I think it does. Because if you think about, okay, why do I want that? It's not about how it looks at this size. It's actually about how it looks in a pattern of text. And when in certain languages, and in fact most languages that use the Latin script, you get a lot of letter E and A because they're vowels in a lot of languages, especially Latin-based languages. Like English fits into that category because it has a lot of Latin roots through French. But languages like French, Italian, Romanian, Portuguese, Spanish, these Latin-based languages, Romanche in Switzerland, they use a lot of A's and E's because from Old Latin, these were very dominant vowels. And in English, E and A, they repeat themselves a lot. But also Germanic languages use it a lot, and Slavic languages too. So it's very common. Okay, so that is the E, and